The massive crystal dome of Nexus Prime stretched high above the Galactic Council chamber. Inside, representatives from hundreds of worlds sat in floating chairs that moved silently through the air. The air itself glowed with a soft blue light that came from nowhere and everywhere at once. Tejo adjusted his simple black suit and looked around the chamber. Every other being in the room wore complex robes or had natural features that marked them as important. Some had multiple arms, covered in jewels. Others had skin that changed colors like living rainbows. A few floated without chairs, their bodies made of what looked like living crystal. He was the only human in the room. The primitive species from the third planet of Sol system requests our attention, announced a voice that seemed to come from the walls themselves. Tejo felt hundreds of eyes turn toward him. Some of those eyes were not even in heads that looked familiar to him. High Commander Velthar rose from his chair. The Vorthak leader stood 3 meters tall, his gray skin covered in natural armor, plates. His 4 arms moved with perfect coordination as he gestured toward a massive display screen that appeared in the air above them. "The humans," Velthar said, his voice deep and rumbling, "have sent their representative to request access to our technology sharing program." The way he said the word humans made it sound like something unpleasant he had stepped on. Murmurs filled the chamber. Tejo heard what sounded like laughter from several directions, though it was hard to tell with beings who might not even have mouths. Elder Kixara of the Crystalline Collective spoke next. Her body was made of what looked like living diamond, and when she moved, light scattered in beautiful patterns around her. "The humans have been in space for less than 100 of their years. Most species require at least 1,000 years of space travel before they can safely use our technologies." "Exactly," Velthar continued. "Their ships still use primitive chemical rockets for most purposes. Their weapons are still based on simple projectiles. They have not even learned to bend space properly for faster travel." Tejo stood up. His chair was the only one in the room that did not float, and he felt very small as he rose to his feet. "Honored council members," he began, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber despite having no visible amplification. "Humanity is eager to learn. We understand that we are new to the galaxy, but we have always been quick to adapt to new situations." "Adapt?" Velthar's laugh was like rocks grinding together. "Young species, your people still fight wars with each other on your home planet. You have barely learned to work together as a single world, let alone as part of a galactic community." This brought more sounds that Tejo assumed were laughter from around the chamber. He kept his face calm, though inside he felt his anger rising. Everything Velthar said was true, but the way he said it was clearly meant to be insulting. "Perhaps," Elder Kixara said, her crystalline voice ringing like bells, "we should offer them something more appropriate to their current level of development." The display screen above them changed to show vast fields of broken machinery. Tejo could see ships that looked like they had been torn apart, equipment covered in rust and damage, and piles of metal that might once have been advanced technology. "These are our recycling centers," Velthar explained. "When our technology becomes obsolete or damaged beyond our ability to repair, we store it here. Some of this equipment is over 1,000 years old. Much of it has not functioned for centuries." Counselor Jektal of the Trade Federation spoke up. His people looked like giant insects, and his voice buzzed as he talked. "We spend considerable resources disposing of this material safely. If the humans wish to take some of it off our hands, it would actually benefit us. The humans could use it for raw materials, suggested another voice from somewhere in the chamber. The metals and crystals might be useful for their primitive manufacturing. Taeho looked at the images on the screen. He could see ships that were larger than anything humanity had ever built. Even broken and rusted, the technology looked far beyond anything Earth had ever produced. "What exactly are you offering?" he asked. "Obsolete military equipment," Velthar said. "Decommissioned warships, broken mining equipment, failed terraforming. Devices. Technology that is useless to us but might provide your people with materials to study. We would, of course, provide transportation," Elder Kixara added. "Our cargo ships could deliver several loads of this material to your home system." Taeho could hear the tone in their voices. They thought they were being generous, while also solving a disposal problem. They expected him to be grateful for their garbage. "How much of this material would you be willing to share?" he asked. The question seemed to surprise them. Velthar consulted a device that appeared in his hand. "We have approximately 50,000 tons of obsolete equipment in storage. We could provide perhaps 10% of that." "We would be grateful for whatever you can spare," Taeho said carefully. "Excellent," Velthar said. "We shall arrange for immediate transport. Consider this our welcome gift to humanity as they join the galactic community." More sounds of what Taeho was now certain was laughter filled the chamber. He saw beings turning to each other, clearly sharing jokes about the humans who were so primitive they would be grateful for garbage. The formal ceremony continued for another hour. Taeho signed agreements, written in languages he could not read, though his translation device assured him they were standard technology sharing contracts. Other species offered similar gifts of their own obsolete equipment. By the time the session ended, humanity had been promised nearly 100,000 tons of discarded alien technology. As the other delegates filed out of the chamber, many of them floating away in their chairs or simply walking through the walls in ways that human physics said should be impossible, Taeho remained seated. His simple chair felt very solid and real compared to everything else in the room. Elder Kixara approached him, her crystalline form chiming softly as she moved. "Do not take their laughter personally, human Taeho," she said. "All species must start somewhere. Perhaps in a few hundred years, your people will be ready for more advanced gifts." "Perhaps," Taeho agreed. "Thank you for your kindness, Elder Kixara." After she left, Taeho activated his communication device and sent a message back to Earth. The signal would take months to reach home, but the cargo ships would take even longer. "Mission accomplished," he recorded. "They've agreed to give us access to their old technology. They think they're giving us garbage, but I saw the specifications. Even broken. This equipment is centuries ahead of anything we have. Tell the engineering teams to get ready. We're about to have more advanced technology to study than we ever dreamed of." He paused, looking around the empty chamber one more time. "And tell them to remember how these beings laughed at us today. I have a feeling we're going to surprise them." The message sent, Taeho gathered his simple belongings and left the crystal chamber. Behind him, the lights dimmed automatically, leaving only the soft blue glow that came from everywhere and nowhere at once. In a few months, the first cargo ships would arrive at Earth, filled with what the galaxy considered worthless junk. Taeho smiled as he walked toward his transport ship. The galaxy was about to learn something important about humanity. They were very good at making the most of what others threw away. The cargo ships arrived at Earth 6 months later, their massive hulls scarred and dented from centuries of use. Dr. So-Min watched from the observation deck of Luna Station as the alien vessels slowly moved into orbit around Earth. Each ship was the size of a small city, and there were 12 of them. "They really did give us their garbage," Lieutenant Colonel Jae-sung said, standing beside her. His military uniform looked very plain compared to the exotic ships floating outside the station windows. "Look closer," So-min replied, pointing at the nearest cargo ship. "See those hull patterns? That's not random damage. That's some kind of energy distribution system built right into the metal. The unloading process took 3 weeks. Giant mechanical arms that moved like living creatures lifted container after container from the alien ships. Each container was the size of a building, and inside were pieces of technology that made Earth's best scientists feel like children looking at adult toys. Dr. Yun-woo was the first to examine the medical equipment. What the aliens called broken diagnostic tools could scan a human body and create a 3-dimensional image that showed every cell. The machines did not work the way their original makers intended, but they still worked. "This scanner is labeled as permanently damaged," Yun-woo reported to the research team. "But I think their definition of damaged is different from ours. It can't perform 12 different types of scans simultaneously like it was designed to. It can only do 3 at a time." "Only 3?" Jae-sung asked. "Our best medical scanners can do 1 type of scan, and they take 20 minutes. This does 3 different scans in about 2 seconds, Yun-woo confirmed. "And the image quality is better than anything we have." The real discoveries began when Nam-ho, a young engineer fresh from Seoul National University, started taking apart a Vorthak plasma conduit. The device was marked as completely non-functional in at least 6 different alien languages. "Professor So-min," Nam-ho called from across the workshop. "You need to see this." So-min walked over to where Nam-ho had spread the conduit components across a table. The device looked like a crystal tube surrounded by metal rings, all of it, blackened and cracked. "The aliens marked this as broken because the crystal matrix has fractures," Nam-ho explained. "But look at this." He pointed to several smaller crystal formations inside the main tube. "These quantum field generators are perfect. The damage is only in the outer shell." "Can we fix it?" So-min asked. "Better than that," Nam-ho said, his eyes bright with excitement. "I think we can rebuild it to work better than it originally did. The aliens were trying to force all the energy through this single crystal. But if we use multiple smaller crystals and distribute the load..." He activated a simulation on his computer. The screen showed energy flowing through the redesigned conduit in patterns that were completely different from the original design. "The original design was trying to do everything with brute force," Nam-ho continued. "But if we let the energy find its own path through multiple channels, we can handle 3 times the power load with the same components." So-min stared at the simulation. "Nam-ho, if this works, you've just improved 1,000-year-old alien technology using human engineering principles." In another part of the complex, pilot Hae-jin was having similar discoveries with the spacecraft. The aliens had given humanity dozens of fighter craft that they claimed were beyond repair. Most were missing entire sections, had damaged engines, or had weapon systems that would not fire. The problem is that they built each ship to do one thing very well, Hee-jin explained to Jae-sung as they walked through the vehicle bay. This Vorthak fighter was designed for space combat in straight lines. This crystalline ship was built for precision flying in asteroid fields. This third one was made for atmospheric flight only. So we have 3 broken ships instead of 1 working ship, Jae-sung observed. "No, sir," Hee-jin said with a grin. "We have parts for 1 very interesting ship that can do all 3 things." She led him to a fourth craft that sat in the middle of the bay. It looked like someone had taken pieces from a dozen different ships and stuck them together without caring how it looked. The hull was 3 different colors, the wings did not match, and the engines were clearly from different manufacturers. "It's ugly," Jae-sung said. "Yes, sir, it is," Hyejin agreed. "But yesterday I took it on a test flight. It outperformed every ship in our current fleet." "How is that possible?" "The aliens designed each ship to be perfect for one specific job. We designed this one to be good enough for every job we might need to do." Hyejin patted the side of the strange-looking craft. "It might not be the best space fighter ever built, but it's the most adaptable." The breakthrough that changed everything came from Dr. Yun-woo's medical research. She had been studying the alien diagnostic equipment for weeks, trying to understand how it worked. The devices used something the aliens called quantum resonance patterns to see inside living bodies. "I think I understand why they consider this equipment broken," she announced at the weekly research meeting. All the department heads gathered in the Luna Station conference room to hear her report. The machines were designed to work with alien biology, Yun-woo continued. "Their quantum patterns are different from ours. The equipment can't read alien bodies anymore because the calibration has drifted over time, but it can read human bodies perfectly," Somin guessed. "Better than perfectly," Yun-woo confirmed. "It's like the drift in calibration accidentally made the machines perfect for human biology. We can diagnose diseases that we didn't even know existed." Jae-sung leaned forward in his chair. "Dr. Yun-woo, are you saying that the aliens' broken medical equipment works better for humans than their working equipment would?" "That's exactly what I'm saying, and I think the same principle applies to everything else we've been examining." So-min felt a chill of excitement run down her spine. "You think their junk is only junk because they can't adapt it to new purposes. I think," Yun-woo said slowly, "that we're better at making their technology work than they are." The room fell silent, as everyone considered the implications. Nam-ho was the first to speak. "Professor, what if we're not supposed to repair this technology exactly the way it was originally built? What if we're supposed to improve it?" Over the following weeks, that question became the driving force behind all their research. Teams of engineers worked around the clock, not trying to restore alien technology to its original function, but trying to make it work better than it ever had before. The results were remarkable. Broken alien computers became quantum processors that could solve problems no human computer could handle. Damaged weapons became tools for construction and manufacturing. Failed terraforming equipment became the most efficient power generators humanity had ever seen. "We need to contact Ambassador Taeho," So-min told the Global Defense Council during their monthly briefing. "He needs to know what we've discovered." "What exactly have you discovered?" asked General Park, the head of Earth's military research division. "We've discovered that the galaxy gave us their junk because they don't understand what their own technology is really capable of," So-min replied. "They built tools to do specific jobs. We're turning those tools into systems that can do any job we need them to do. And this is significant because," So-min smiled, "because we're not just fixing their junk, General. We're making it better than it was when it was new." Outside the Luna Station windows, the alien cargo ships were preparing to leave Earth orbit. Their job was done. They had delivered the galaxy's garbage to the primitive humans who were grateful to have it. They had no idea that they had just given humanity the keys to becoming the most technologically advanced species in known space. Captain Minho stood on the bridge of the Soul's Pride, looking out at the stars through the main viewing screen. The ship around him was a patchwork of different technologies that should not have worked together. The hull was made from Vorthak, armor plating, the engines were modified crystalline propulsion systems, and the navigation computer was built from parts of 7 different alien designs. It was the ugliest ship Minho had ever seen, and it was also the fastest. "Captain," called out Navigator G1 from her station, "we're approaching Kepler's Rest trading station. They're requesting identification." "Open a channel," Minho ordered. The main screen flickered and showed the control room of the trading station. A massive alien with gray skin and multiple arms looked back at them. Minho recognized the species as Vorthak, the same people who had given humanity their generous gift of broken technology. "Unknown vessel," the alien said, his voice deep and rumbling. "Your ship appears to be in distress. Do you require emergency assistance?" Minho looked around his bridge. Everything was working perfectly, but he understood the alien's confusion. The Soul's Pride looked like it had been built from spare parts found in a junkyard. "Negative Kepler's Rest," Minho replied. "This is Captain Minho of the United Earth vessel Soul's Pride. We're requesting permission to dock for trade negotiations." The Vorthak controller stared at them for a long moment. "Did you say United Earth? The human species?" "That's correct. But your vessel, it appears to be constructed from multiple incompatible technologies. How is it even functioning?" Navigator G1 turned to Minho with a barely hidden smile. They had expected this reaction. Every alien they had encountered so far had the same response to human-modified technology. "We've made some improvements. To the original designs?" Minho said diplomatically. "Improvements?" The controller's voice rose in pitch. "Those hull segments are Vorthak military armor from at least 3 different ship classes. The energy signature from your engine suggests crystalline technology, but the harmonics are all wrong. Nothing about your ship should work." "And yet here we are," Minho replied calmly. "Permission to dock?" It took several minutes for the station controllers to assign them a docking bay. Minho could hear them arguing in the background about where to put a ship that their computers could not properly classify. As the Soul's Pride settled into docking bay 7, Minho gathered the items they had brought for trade. Each one was a piece of alien technology that had been marked as permanently broken when the galaxy gave it to humanity. Each one now worked better than its original specifications. The docking bay was filled with beings from dozens of different species. Most of them stopped whatever they were doing to stare at the Soul's Pride as the airlock opened. Minho heard whispered conversations in languages his translator could not identify, but the tone was universal: confusion and disbelief. Station Commander Thulrak met them at the airlock. He was even larger than the controller they had spoken to, and his natural armor plating was decorated with symbols that probably indicated high rank. "Captain Minho," Thulrak said formally. "Welcome to Kepler's Rest. I must admit your ship has caused quite a stir among our technical staff." "How so?" Minho asked, though he already knew the answer. "They insist that it should not be able to fly. The combination of technologies you are using should result in cascade failures throughout all your systems." Thulrak gestured toward the Soul's Pride. "Yet our sensors show that your ship is operating at efficiency levels that exceed the original specifications of any of the component technologies." "Human engineering," G1 said simply. As they walked through the station, Minho noticed that word of their arrival was spreading quickly. Beings from species he did not recognize were gathering in groups, pointing at the humans and talking in hushed tones. The trading center was a vast chamber with floating platforms where merchants displayed their goods. Minho and Jiwon set up their own small platform and began unpacking the items they had brought. The first item was a crystalline force field generator. According to the documentation the aliens had provided, it had been damaged beyond repair after its crystal matrix developed stress fractures. Namho's engineering team had rebuilt it using smaller crystals arranged in a pattern that distributed the load more evenly. "This is impossible," said the first merchant who examined it. She was from a species Minho had never seen before, with blue skin and silver eyes. The power output readings are 3 times higher than the original design. Specifications. It's the same basic technology, Jiwon explained. We just arrange the components differently. But the stress patterns, the energy flow, this should cause the entire system to explode. It hasn't exploded yet, Minho pointed out. The merchant bought the force field generator immediately, paying twice what they had expected to receive for it. The second item attracted even more attention. It was a Vorthak scanning device that had been marked as non-functional because it could no longer detect the specific energy signatures it was designed to find. Dr. Yunwoo's medical team had modified it to detect a much wider range of signatures, essentially turning it from a specialized tool into a universal sensor. This device can identify biological patterns from any known species, the merchant examining it said in amazement. It can analyze mineral compositions. It can even detect quantum field fluctuations. How did you modify a simple Vorthak scanner to do all of this? We removed the limitations, Jiwon replied. What limitations? The original design was built to look for specific things. We rebuilt it to look for anything. By the end of the day, they had sold everything they had brought and had orders for dozens more items. Word had spread throughout the station that the humans were selling improved versions of technology that every species in the galaxy had given up on. Commander Thulrak visited their platform personally as they were preparing to leave. "Captain Minho," he said, "I have been in contact with my superiors. They are very interested in your modifications to standard galactic technology." "We're happy to trade," Minho replied. "That is not what concerns them," Thulrak continued. "What concerns them is that you have taken technology that was obsolete and made it superior to current state-of-the-art systems." Minho exchanged a glance with Jiwon. They had not intended to cause concern, but they had expected that someone would eventually notice the implications of what humanity was doing. "Is that a problem?" Minho asked. "That depends," Thulrak said slowly, "on what else you plan to improve." As they returned to the Soul's Pride, Minho noticed that their ship was now surrounded by security personnel from the station. They were not being arrested, but they were definitely being watched very carefully. "Captain," Jiwon said quietly, as they walked through the docking bay, "I think we may have attracted more attention than we intended." "That was always going to happen eventually," Minho replied. "The question is whether the galaxy is going to see us as a useful partner or as a threat." The Soul's Pride undocked from Kepler's Rest without incident, but Minho noticed that several other ships followed them as they left the station. Some kept their distance, but others moved in patterns that suggested they were trying to scan. "The human vessel. Navigator, set course for home," Minho ordered. "And send a message to Earth. Tell them that our first trade mission was successful, but that we may need to prepare for more attention from the galactic community." "What kind of attention?" Jiwon asked. Minho watched the alien ships following, them on the tactical display. The kind that comes when people realize you have something they want, or when they realize you can do something they can't. As the soul's pride engaged its modified faster-than-light drive, Minho thought about the expressions he had seen on the faces of the alien merchants. Confusion, amazement, and something else. Something that might have been fear. The galaxy had given humanity their broken technology because they thought humans were too primitive to be dangerous with it. They were about to learn that they had made a serious mistake in that judgment. Humanity was not too primitive to be dangerous. They were too adaptable to be contained. Dr. So-Min stood in the center of what had once been a small research facility on Luna Station. Now it stretched across 3 levels and employed over 5,000 people from around the solar system. The success of Captain Minho's trade mission had triggered the largest technological development program in human history. "Show me the Neural Interface Project," she said to engineer Kyung-soo, who had become the team leader for their most ambitious research. Kyung-soo led her to a laboratory where a volunteer sat in a chair surrounded by alien technology that glowed with soft blue light. The volunteer was Dr. Hae-jin, a neuroscientist who had volunteered to test the interface between human brains and alien computers. The breakthrough came when we realized that human neural patterns are fundamentally different from any other species the aliens had encountered, Kyung-soo explained. Most alien brains think in very linear logical patterns. They process information step by step, in sequences. And human brains? So-Min asked. We think in networks. We make connections between ideas that seem completely unrelated. We see patterns where other species see chaos. Kyung-soo pointed to the screens showing Dr. Hae-jin's brain activity. When a human mind interfaces with alien quantum computers, we don't just use them the way they were designed. We use them in ways the original programmers never imagined. On the screen, So-Min could see the alien computer system responding to Dr. Hae-jin's thoughts. But instead of the neat, organized data flows that the aliens expected, the information was moving in complex spirals and loops that created new patterns with every interaction. "What is she doing right now?" So-Min asked. "She's solving a problem that the Crystalline Collective said was mathematically impossible," Kyung-soo replied. "The calculation involves predicting the behavior of quantum fields across 17 different dimensions simultaneously." "And she's solving it?" "She solved it 20 minutes ago. Now she's trying to understand why the aliens thought it was impossible." In the military research section, General Hyo-jin was reviewing reports that would have been considered science fiction just 2 years earlier. Her tactical advisor, Colonel Dong-woo, had been working with teams of engineers to modify alien weapon systems. The conventional approach to weapon design is to build something that does one thing very effectively, Dong-woo explained as they walked through the weapons testing facility. The Vorthak plasma cannon, for example, was designed to destroy enemy ships quickly and efficiently. They stopped in front of a device that looked like the plasma cannon, but with additional components attached to every surface. Our approach was to ask, what else could this energy system do? Dong-woo continued. The answer is almost anything. He activated the modified weapon. Instead of firing a destructive blast, it projected a field of energy that carefully carved a complex pattern into a metal target. Precision manufacturing, General Hyo-jin observed. That's one function. It can also be used for medical surgery, asteroid mining, defensive barriers, power generation, and at least 12 other applications we've discovered so far. While still functioning as a weapon? While functioning as a better weapon than it was originally designed to be, Dong-woo confirmed. The aliens built tools. We built systems. The theoretical work was being led by Dr. In-soo, whose physics team had been studying the fundamental principles behind alien technology. Their discoveries were revolutionizing human understanding of how the universe worked. The problem with alien technology is not that it's badly designed, Dr. Insu explained to the assembled research heads during their weekly meeting. The problem is that it's too specifically designed. He activated a holographic display that showed the internal structure of a crystalline power core. This device was built to provide exactly 1.47 terawatts of power output with perfect stability for approximately 500 years. It does that job flawlessly. "That sounds like good design to me," commented Dr. Yunwu. "It would be, if that was all you wanted it to do," Dr. Insu agreed. "But what if you need 2.2 terawatts for a few minutes? Or what if you want to vary the output? Or what if you want to use it for something other than power generation?" He changed the display to show a human-modified version of the same device. "Our version provides anywhere from 0.1 terawatts to 4.8 terawatts of output. It can maintain any level of power for any length of time, and it can be reconfigured to serve as a gravitational field generator, a quantum computer processor, or a dozen other functions." "At the cost of reduced efficiency?" Somin asked. "Actually, no. It's more efficient than the original in every measurable way." The room fell silent as everyone considered the implications. "Dr. Insu," General Hyojin said slowly, "are you telling us that we have improved thousand-year-old alien technology simply by making it more flexible?" "I'm telling you that alien civilizations appear to have evolved in environments where specialization was more important than adaptability," Dr. Insu replied. "They learned to build perfect tools for specific jobs. We evolved in an environment where the jobs kept changing, so we learned to build tools that could adapt to any job." Namho raised his hand. "Professor, does this mean that all alien technology could be improved using human design principles?" "I believe so, yes. In fact, I think we're only seeing the beginning of what's possible." The proof of that statement came from an unexpected source. Dr. Yunwu's medical team had been working with alien biotechnology that the galaxy had marked as completely incompatible with known life forms. The devices were designed to work with alien biology and had failed to function properly for centuries. "We started by asking a simple question," Dr. Yunwu reported. "If this technology doesn't work with alien biology anymore, what biology does it work with?" She activated a medical scanner that had been built from components of 6 different alien medical devices. The scanner had been marked as broken by every species that had ever tried to use it. The answer is, it works perfectly with human biology. Not just human biology as it is today, but human biology as it could be. The scanner projected a 3-dimensional image of a human body, but not like any medical scan anyone had ever seen before. This image showed not just the current state of the body, but potential future states based on different environmental and genetic factors. This device can predict how a human body will respond to different treatments, different environments, even different evolutionary pressures, Dr. Yunwu continued. It's not just diagnosing current problems. It's showing us how to prevent future problems and how to enhance human capabilities. Enhancement? General Hyojin leaned forward with interest. The device can identify specific genetic modifications that would allow humans to survive in different atmospheric conditions, resist different diseases, or even interface more effectively with technology. Somin felt a chill of excitement and concern. "Dr. Yunwu, are you suggesting that alien medical technology could be used to modify human biology?" "I'm suggesting that alien medical technology was designed to do exactly that, but for species that no longer exist. We may be compatible with it because we're still evolving." The implications were staggering. As the meeting ended and the research heads returned to their departments, So-Min remained in the conference room thinking about what they had learned. Humanity had been given the galaxy's refuse because the aliens thought humans were too primitive to be dangerous. But the refuse was turning out to be more advanced than anything the aliens currently possessed, and humans were proving to be uniquely suited to unlock its potential. Her communication device chimed with an incoming message from Ambassador Tae-Ho. The message had been sent from Nexus Prime, where Tae-Ho was attending another Galactic Council session. "Dr. So-Min," the message began, "the alien governments are starting to ask questions about our trade activities. Several species have reported that humans are selling improved versions of their own technology back to them. I need a full report on our capabilities for the next council session." "How much should I tell them?" she asked the empty conference room. The answer came from her own research. The aliens had given humanity their broken technology because they could not imagine humans being able to improve it. They still did not understand what humans were capable of. Perhaps it was better to keep it that way, at least for now. So-Min began writing her report to Ambassador Tae-Ho. She would tell him enough to handle the alien questions, but not enough to alarm them. Not yet. The galaxy was not ready to learn that their junk had become humanity's treasure, and humanity was not ready to reveal just how much treasure they had found. The Galactic Council chamber on Nexus Prime was different this time. Ambassador Tae-Ho noticed the change immediately as he entered the Great Crystal Dome. Instead of the casual dismissal he had faced during his first visit, he could feel tension in the air. Representatives from dozens of species were gathered in small groups, their conversations stopping abruptly when they noticed his arrival. High Commander Velthar was waiting for him near the human seating area. The massive Vorthak looked even more imposing than usual, his natural armor plating seeming darker against the crystal walls. "Human Tae-Ho," Velthar said, his voice carrying an edge that had not been there before. "We need to discuss the recent activities of your species." "Of course," Tae-Ho replied calmly. "What would you like to know?" Before Velthar could answer, Elder Kixara approached them. The crystalline leader's form was blazing with light patterns that Tae-Ho had learned indicated agitation. "Ambassador," she said, her voice ringing like disturbed bells, "we have received troubling reports from our trade networks." "What kind of reports?" Tae-Ho asked, though he suspected he knew the answer. "Reports that humans are selling modified versions of galactic technology," Velthar said bluntly. "Technology that was provided to your species as obsolete materials." The formal session began an hour later, but Tae-Ho could tell that the real discussion was going to happen in the corridors and private meetings that surrounded the official proceedings. Dr. Young-Mi, Earth's chief economist who had accompanied him on this trip, was already gathering data from her conversations with alien trade representatives. "The numbers are impressive," she reported to Tae-Ho during a brief recess. "Human-modified technology is appearing in markets across the galaxy. Some of it is selling for 10 times the price of equivalent new technology." "How are the aliens reacting to that?" "It depends on the species. The Trade Federation is excited because they're making money as middlemen. The military powers are concerned because they don't understand how we're improving their own technology." During the afternoon session, Councillor Jektal of the Trade Federation formally requested information about human manufacturing capabilities. "The humans have become significant participants in galactic commerce very quickly," Jektal buzzed from his floating platform. "We wish to understand their production methods to better facilitate trade." Tae-Ho stood to address the assembly. Earth is grateful for the opportunity to participate in galactic commerce. Our engineers have been studying the technology provided to us by the Council, and we have developed some modifications that improve functionality. Modifications? Elder Kixara's voice carried clear skepticism. The technology we provided was obsolete and non-functional. How does one modify broken equipment? Human engineering approaches problems differently than most species, Tejo replied carefully. We tend to look for new ways to use existing components rather than replacing them entirely. Ambassador General Klixtar of the hegemony of Zalthor spoke for the first time. Her species was known for their military focus, and her presence at what was supposed to be a trade discussion concerned Taiho. We have analyzed samples of human-modified technology, Klixtar said, her voice harsh and grating. The improvements claimed are impossible according to established principles of engineering. Perhaps the established principles are incomplete, Tejo suggested. The chamber erupted in sounds that Tejo recognized as various forms of alien protest. The idea that primitive humans might understand technology better than species who had been spacefaring for millennia was clearly offensive to many of the delegates. Velthar raised one of his four arms for silence. Human Taiho, are you claiming that your species has made technological advances beyond what the galaxy has achieved? Tejo chose his words carefully. Dr. Somin's report had given him enough information to handle questions, but he had to be diplomatic about how much he revealed. We have found new applications for existing technology, he said. Human creativity has always been our greatest strength. Demonstrate, Klixtar demanded. Tejo had prepared for this request. He activated a portable device that his engineers had built specifically for this moment. It was constructed entirely from components that the aliens had given to humanity, but arranged in a configuration that none of them had ever seen before. The device projected a holographic display that showed the molecular structure of the crystal floor beneath their feet. But unlike normal scanning technology, this display was interactive. Tejo gestured with his hand, and the molecules in the display rearranged themselves to show different configurations. This is a standard crystalline molecular scanner, Tejo explained. Combined with Vorthak data processing units and Trade Federation projection technology. None of these components worked when you gave them to us. That is impossible, Elder Kixara said flatly. Those technologies are incompatible. The quantum frequencies interfere with each other. They were incompatible the way you were using them, Tejo agreed. We found a way to make them work together. He manipulated the holographic display to show the internal structure of his own device. The alien delegates could see exactly how the incompatible technologies had been integrated, but Tejo could tell from their expressions that they did not understand the principles involved. This is concerning, Velthar said after a long silence. If humans can integrate incompatible technologies, what prevents them from integrating military systems? Nothing, Tejo replied honestly, but we have no hostile intentions toward any galactic species. Intentions can change, Klixtar observed. The rest of the session was tense, with various delegates asking technical questions that Tejo answered as vaguely as possible while still being truthful. He could see that several species were already making plans for private discussions about the human situation. That evening, Dr. Youngmi provided Tejo with intelligence she had gathered from conversations throughout the day. There are two distinct factions forming, she reported. The Trade Federation and several smaller commercial species see us as a valuable business opportunity. They want to establish exclusive trade agreements. And the other faction, the military. Powers are viewing us as a potential threat. The hegemony of Zalthor is particularly concerned. They've been the dominant military force in this region for over 2,000 years. What are they planning to do about it? I don't know yet, but Ambassador General Clickstar has been meeting privately with representatives from at least 6 other military species. Tejo looked out the window of his quarters at the crystal city of Nexus Prime. The alien architecture was beautiful and sophisticated, representing the accumulated knowledge of hundreds of civilizations. But now he was beginning to understand that it also represented something else: stagnation. Each species had found their place in the galactic hierarchy and stayed there for centuries. The idea that newcomers like humanity might disrupt that balance was clearly disturbing to those who benefited from the current system. His communication device chimed with an incoming message from Earth. The signal had taken months to reach Nexus Prime, but it contained information that made Tejo smile. Admiral Min Ho reported that human trade missions were now operating in 12 different star systems. The demand for human-modified technology was growing faster than Earth's ability to produce it, and more importantly, several alien governments had begun requesting formal diplomatic relations with Earth. We're not just participating in galactic commerce anymore, the message continued. We're starting to influence it. But the message also contained a warning from General Hyo Jin. Earth's intelligence networks had detected increased military activity among several species that had traditionally been allied with the hegemony of Zalthor. Be careful, Ambassador, the message concluded. Success has made us visible, and visibility makes us a target. Tejo composed his reply carefully. He told Earth about the division forming in the Galactic Council, and recommended that humanity begin preparing for the possibility that their rapid technological advancement might provoke a hostile response. Continue developing our capabilities, he wrote, but be prepared to defend them. As he sent the message, Tejo reflected on how much had changed since his first visit to Nexus Prime. The aliens had laughed at humanity then, dismissing them as primitives who would be grateful for garbage. Now those same aliens were demanding to know how the primitives had turned their garbage into technology that surpassed their own achievements. The galaxy was beginning to fear what humanity had built. The question was, what would they do about that fear? Looking out at the crystal spires of Nexus Prime, Tejo suspected that humanity was about to find out. General Crixnall of the hegemony of Zalthor stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dominance, studying the tactical displays that showed the human fleet positions near Proxima Centauri. Intelligence reports from across the galaxy had painted a picture that disturbed him deeply. Primitive humans flying ships built from galactic refuse were outperforming technology that had taken his civilization millennia to develop. Analysis of the human vessels? He demanded from his tactical officer. Sir, the ships appear to be constructed from components salvaged from multiple species. Our databases identify hull segments from at least 12 different civilizations. The officer's voice carried confusion. However, the energy signatures and performance data do not match any known specifications. Crixnall examined the images of the human fleet. Each ship looked like it had been assembled by children playing with spare parts. Mismatched hull sections, weapons mounted in configurations that violated basic engineering principles, and engines that should not have been able to work together at all. These vessels should be barely functional, he muttered. Yes, sir. But our long-range scans indicate that they are operating at efficiency levels that exceed the original specifications of any of their component technologies. The general felt a familiar anger rising in his chest. The hegemony had ruled this region of space for over 2,000 years through superior military technology and rigid discipline. The idea that scavenging primitives could challenge that supremacy was intolerable. How many ships do they have? Approximately 40 vessels of various sizes, sir. However, intelligence suggests that more are being constructed in the Sol system at an unprecedented rate. Crixnal activated his communication system to contact the other members of what had come to be known as the Stability Alliance, representatives from the Vorthak Empire, the Iron Throne dynasty, and 3 other military powers appeared on his screen. "The human threat is growing daily," he announced without preamble. "Our trade partners report that human-modified technology is displacing our own products in markets across the galaxy." High Commander Velthar of the Vorthok nodded grimly. "The humans have turned our gift of obsolete materials into a technological revolution. This cannot be allowed to continue." "What do you propose?" asked War Chief Goltar of the Iron Throne dynasty. "Direct military action," Crixnal replied. "We eliminate the human fleet before it can grow larger. We establish a blockade of their home system to prevent further technological development. We return the galaxy to proper order. The Alliance commanders agreed to contribute ships to a joint fleet that would demonstrate galactic superiority over human presumption. Within days, over 300 warships representing the most advanced military technologies in known space were assembled at the edge of human territory. Admiral Min Ho received the report of the alien fleet from long range scouts while reviewing construction reports from the Luna shipyards. The numbers were sobering. 300 alien warships against humanity's 40 operational vessels. "Analysis?" he asked his tactical advisor, Commander Haye Jin. "Their ships are larger, more heavily armed, and built using technologies that are centuries more advanced than the components we started with," she replied. "In a conventional engagement, they would destroy us completely." "Good thing we don't plan to fight conventionally," Min Ho observed. The human fleet met the Stability Alliance at the edge of the Proxima Centauri system. The contrast was dramatic. Sleek alien warships that gleamed with perfect engineering faced a collection of vessels that looked like they had been assembled in a junkyard. General Crixnal opened a communication channel to the human fleet. "I am General Crixnal of the Hegemony of Zalthor, commanding the forces of the Stability Alliance," he announced. "You will surrender immediately and submit to galactic authority." Admiral Min Ho's response was calm and measured. "General, this is Admiral Min Ho of the United Earth Fleet. We have no quarrel with your alliance, but we will defend ourselves if attacked." "You misunderstand the situation," Crixnal replied. "Your species has violated the natural order of galactic civilization. This ends now." "Then I suppose we understand each other perfectly," Min Ho said, and closed the communication channel. The battle began with the alien fleet firing simultaneously at the human vessels. Hundreds of energy weapons lit up space as the most advanced military technologies in the galaxy unleashed their full power against the cobbled-together human ships. The humans returned fire immediately, but their response was unlike anything the aliens had ever encountered. Instead of the focused energy beams or missile attacks that characterized normal space combat, the human weapons seemed to adapt their output in real time. Commander Haye Jin's fighter squadron demonstrated the first shock. Her ships, built from components of 7 different alien fighter designs, moved through space in patterns that should have been impossible. They accelerated and turned with capabilities that exceeded the specifications of any individual component technology. "How? Are they moving like that?" demanded Crixnal's tactical officer. "Unknown, sir. Their propulsion systems appear to be operating in configurations that our engineers said were impossible. But the real surprise came when the human ships began to defend themselves. Instead of the shield technologies that most species used, the human vessels seemed to absorb incoming energy and redirect it. A Vorthak plasma cannon that struck a human cruiser did not destroy the ship or even damage it significantly. Instead, the energy was channeled through the ship's modified systems and fired back at the attacking vessel with increased power. "General," his tactical officer reported with barely controlled panic, "they're using our own weapons against us." Crixnall watched in growing horror as his fleet's attacks were absorbed, amplified, and redirected. The humans were not just defending themselves. They were turning the Alliance's technological superiority into a liability. Colonel Dong Wu's tactical innovations had prepared the human fleet for exactly this scenario. Instead of trying to match alien firepower, human ships were designed to use that firepower against itself. "Target their command ships," Admiral Minho ordered. "Show them what their own technology can do when it's used properly." The human counterattack was devastating. Weapons that had been built by the Stability Alliance members were used against them with efficiency that their own designers had never imagined possible. Energy systems that had been considered obsolete were integrated into weapons platforms that operated at performance levels beyond current galactic standards. Within 17 minutes, the Stability Alliance fleet was in full retreat. Ships that had not been destroyed outright were retreating toward their home territories, their crews unable to understand how they had been defeated by primitive scavengers flying garbage. General Crixnall's flagship was among the survivors, but barely. His ship's systems had been damaged by weapons that appeared to be built from components his own civilization had discarded as worthless. "Impossible," he repeated over and over as his ship limped away from the battle zone. "This is impossible." The aftermath of the battle sent shock waves through the galaxy. The most advanced military alliance in known space had been defeated by humans flying ships built from refuse. Worse, the humans had used the Alliance's own technologies against them with devastating effectiveness. Back on Nexus Prime, the Galactic Council convened an emergency session. Ambassador Tejo was not invited to attend, but the discussions were. Broadcast throughout galactic space, Elder Kixara addressed the assembly with words that would be remembered for generations. "We gave them our junk because we thought they were too primitive to be dangerous. We have learned that they are not too primitive. They are too adaptable." High Commander Velthar's report was even more disturbing. "The humans did not defeat us through superior technology. They defeated us by using our own technology better than we can." The Galactic Council faced a new reality. The species they had dismissed as primitive scavengers had become the most dangerous military force in known space. And they had done it using nothing but the galaxy's own discarded technology. The question that haunted every delegate was simple. If humans could do this much with their refuse, what could they do with their own advanced technology? Nobody wanted to find out the answer to that question. The colony on Kepler 442b had been humanity's first attempt at establishing a permanent settlement outside the Sol system. Governor Seyoung-ho had chosen the location specifically because it was far from major galactic trade routes, hoping to develop human technology without attracting unwanted attention from alien governments. That hope ended when the Stability Alliance decided to make an example of what happened to species that challenged galactic order. "Sir, we have multiple contacts on long-range sensors," reported Communications Officer Min Jung from the colony's command center. "At least 60 ships approaching from the outer system." Governor Sung-ho studied the tactical display with Commander Ji-woo, who had been assigned to lead the colony's defense forces. The approaching fleet was impressive. Warships from 4 different species, all members of the Stability Alliance that had been humiliated at Proxima Centauri. "They're not here for negotiations," Ji-woo observed. "This is a punishment raid." "How long until Admiral Min-ho's fleet can reach us?" Seung-ho asked. 3 days minimum," Min-jung replied. "The Alliance fleet will be in bombardment range in, 6 hours." Sung-ho nodded grimly. "Then we defend ourselves with what we have." What they had was a collection of mining equipment, terraforming machinery, and construction tools that had been built using human modifications of alien technology. The colony had never been intended as a military base, but Commander Ji-woo had insisted on preparing for the possibility of attack. "Activate the defensive network," Ji-woo ordered. Across the colony, systems that appeared to be standard mining and construction equipment began to reconfigure themselves. Asteroid mining. Lasers rotated toward the sky. Terraforming atmospheric processors started generating energy fields that could serve as shields. Even the colony's garbage recycling plants began producing materials that could be used for ammunition. Engineer Nam-ho, who had been assigned to the colony to continue his research into alien technology integration, monitored the preparations. From the engineering center, "Commander," he reported, "the defensive systems are operating at 97% efficiency." "That's not enough," Ji-woo replied. "We need every advantage we can get." "Actually, ma'am, I think we might have more advantages than the Alliance realizes." The attack began at dawn with orbital bombardment from the alien fleet. Energy weapons that were designed to destroy military targets struck the colony's shields. With enough force to level a city, the shields held. "Impossible," muttered War Chief Goltar from the bridge of his flagship. "Our intelligence said this was a civilian mining colony." "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "their defensive systems appear to be adapted from standard terraforming equipment, but the power output is far beyond anything those systems should be capable of." General Crixnall, commanding the overall assault, ordered the second phase of the attack. "Deploy ground forces. If we cannot destroy the colony from orbit, we will take it by direct assault." Transport ships descended through the planet's atmosphere, carrying troops equipped with the most advanced military technology the Alliance possessed. They expected to face civilian miners with basic defensive weapons. Instead, they encountered something that would become legendary in military circles throughout the galaxy. Commander Ji-woo had spent months preparing for this possibility. The colony's defensive systems were not just shields and weapons. They were an integrated network that could adapt to any threat in real time. "Target the landing zones," she ordered. What the aliens had thought were simple construction vehicles revealed themselves to be far more than they appeared. Earth-moving equipment that had been used to build the colony's foundation systems converted into mobile artillery platforms. Atmospheric processors that maintained the colony's air supply became area denial weapons that could alter local weather patterns. "They're using construction equipment as weapons," reported the ground force commander in disbelief. "All construction equipment can be weapons if you know how to use it," Nam-ho observed from his monitoring station. "The difference is that we designed ours to be both from the beginning." The battle escalated as more Alliance forces landed, but each wave of attackers faced defensive systems that had adapted to counter their specific technologies. Weapons that worked perfectly against other alien species found themselves neutralized by human modifications that their designers had never anticipated. The turning point came when Nam-ho implemented his most ambitious project: active technology conversion. "Commander, I'm ready to begin absorption protocol," he announced. "Do it," Jiwoo ordered. Around the colony, hidden systems that had been disguised as routine maintenance equipment activated. These were Nam Ho's masterpiece, devices that could analyze, copy, and reproduce any technology they encountered. As Alliance forces attacked with their advanced weapons and equipment, the colony's systems absorbed the energy signatures, analyzed the technology, and began producing improved versions of the same equipment. "Sir," the Alliance ground commander reported in growing panic, "the colonists are somehow duplicating our equipment. They're firing our own weapons back at us." War Chief Goltar demanded an explanation from his technical staff. "How are they reproducing our technology?" "Unknown, sir. But the duplicates appear to be superior to our originals in every measurable way. The sight of human defenders using Alliance weapons against their own forces was broadcast throughout galactic space. But worse was to come. Nam Ho's absorption systems had not just copied individual weapons. They had analyzed the underlying principles of Alliance technology and found ways to improve them. Within hours of the battle beginning, the colony was producing defensive equipment that surpassed anything in the Alliance arsenal. General Crixnall, his communications officer, reported, "We're receiving surrender requests from our own ground forces." "Surrender requests? To the humans?" "Yes, sir. They report that continued fighting is impossible. The humans are using our own technology against us, but their versions are more effective than ours." Crixnall watched the tactical displays in growing horror. His forces were not just being defeated, they were being absorbed. Human technology was consuming Alliance systems and converting them into something more powerful. "All forces, retreat immediately," he ordered. "This is not a battle we can win." But even the retreat proved difficult. Several Alliance ships found their systems compromised by human technology that had somehow infiltrated their networks during the battle. Ships that had not even landed on the planet discovered that their computers were now running human-modified software that operated their systems more efficiently than the original programs. Commander Jiwoo's final report to Earth was brief but significant. "Colony secure. Alliance forces retreated after suffering total defeat. We captured intact examples of their most advanced military technology and have begun integration into our defensive systems. But the most important discovery came from Nam Ho's analysis of the captured technology. Governor," he reported to Shung Ho, "I think I understand why we're so much better at improving alien technology than they are." "Explain." "They design everything to work perfectly for one specific purpose. When that purpose changes or the technology breaks, they replace it entirely. And we design everything to be adaptable. When something breaks, we fix it. When we need it to do something different, we modify it. When we encounter new technology, we figure out how to integrate it with what we already have." Nam Ho activated a display showing the colony's defensive network as it existed after the battle. It was no longer recognizable as human technology or alien technology. It was something entirely new, a hybrid system that combined the best features of every technology it had encountered. "We're not just improving their junk anymore," Nam Ho continued. "We're creating something that transcends the limitations of any single species' approach to technology." The news of the failed attack on Kepler 442b reached every corner of galactic civilization within days. The most advanced military alliance in known space had been defeated by a civilian mining colony using modified construction equipment. But the real shock came from the technical reports that filtered through the galactic intelligence networks. The humans had not just defended themselves, they had demonstrated the ability to absorb and improve any technology they encountered in real time. Elder Kixara's statement to the Galactic Council captured the growing fear throughout the galaxy. "We gave them our old technology because we thought they would be grateful for our generosity. Instead, they have used it to become more technologically advanced than any of us." The implications were staggering. If humans could defeat the most advanced military forces using nothing but modified mining equipment, what would happen when they turned their attention to developing purely human technology? The galaxy was about to find out, and many species were beginning to realize that they might not like the answer. 1 year after the failed attack on Kepler 442b, the Galactic Council chamber on Nexus Prime looked very different. The floating chairs that had once carried delegates in perfect formation now moved nervously through the air. Representatives, who had once dismissed humanity as primitive scavengers, now spoke in hushed, worried tones about the human situation. Ambassador Taeho entered the chamber to a silence that felt heavy with tension. Half of the species that had originally laughed at humanity's request for technology were now seeking formal alliance agreements with Earth. The other half sat in stunned quiet, unable to accept that their 1,000-year-old assumptions about galactic hierarchy had been completely overturned. Dr. Young Mai accompanied Taeho, carrying data tablets that contained economic reports which would reshape galactic commerce. The numbers told a story that would have been considered impossible just 2 years earlier. Humanity now controlled the most efficient technology in known space, and they were willing to share it with anyone who treated them as equals. Elder Kixara was the first to speak as the session began. Her crystalline form had lost much of its radiant confidence, and her voice carried a note of something that sounded almost like fear. "Ambassador Taeho," she said, "the Crystalline Collective formally requests clarification of humanity's intentions regarding galactic stability." "Our intentions are the same as they have always been," Taeho replied calmly. "We wish to participate in galactic civilization as partners and equals." "Partners?" High Commander Velthar's voice carried bitter irony. "Your species has demonstrated military capabilities that exceed our most advanced technologies. Your economic influence grows daily. How can there be partnership between equals when one side possesses such overwhelming advantages?" Taeho exchanged a glance with Dr. Young Mi. They had expected this question, but the answer was still complex. "Commander Velthar, humanity gained its advantages by using technology that your species gave us. We improved your discarded equipment because we approach problems differently than you do. Those same principles of adaptation and integration are available to anyone who chooses to learn them." "Impossible," muttered Councillor Jektal of the Trade Federation. "No species can simply change their fundamental approach to technology." Dr. Young Mi stood to address the assembly. "Honored delegates, we have prepared a demonstration that may help explain humanity's approach to technological development." She activated a device that projected a holographic display above the chamber floor. The display showed a simple alien tool that every species in the room would recognize, a standard power coupling used in virtually every piece of galactic technology. "This is a Vorthak power coupling, design number 7432 Alpha, Dr. Young Mi explained. "It has been in use throughout the galaxy for over 800 years. It connects energy sources to equipment with 92% efficiency." The hologram changed to show the same coupling, but with additional components attached to it. This is the same coupling after human modification. It now operates at 97% efficiency, can handle 40% more power load, and can adapt to 7 different types of energy input instead of just one. How? Demanded War Chief Goltar of the Iron Throne dynasty. We asked a different question, Dr. Youngmi replied. Instead of asking, how do we make this coupling work as designed, we asked, what else could this coupling do if we changed the design? She manipulated the holographic display to show the internal modifications. We added feedback loops that allow the coupling to adjust to different energy types. We modified the crystal matrix to distribute power more evenly. We integrated adaptive components that let the system optimize itself for different uses. Elder Kixara studied the display with growing amazement. You improved efficiency by making the system more complex? We improved efficiency by making the system more adaptable, Taeho corrected. Complexity is just a side effect. Admiral Minho's report from the military sector was equally impressive. The human fleet now patrolled shipping lanes throughout the galactic region, providing security services that were more effective than anything the previous military powers had offered. Human patrol ships respond to threats faster than traditional military vessels, Admiral Minho explained via holographic transmission from his flagship. Our ships can adapt their capabilities to handle any situation, from pirate attacks to natural disasters to equipment failures. The report included footage of a recent rescue operation where human ships had saved a crystalline merchant vessel from a stellar storm. The human ships had modified their shield systems in real time to protect both vessels, while their modified tractor beams had pulled the merchant ship to safety. The crystalline crew reported that our rescue techniques were more effective than their own emergency systems, Admiral Minho continued. We were able to save their ship using modified versions of their own technology. But the most significant presentation came from Dr. In-Su, appearing via transmission from the research station on Luna. His latest discovery would fundamentally change how the galaxy understood technology itself. Honored delegates, Dr. In-Su began, I am pleased to announce the completion of humanity's first fully autonomous manufacturing platform. The holographic display showed a facility that looked unlike anything any species had ever built. Instead of the clean, specialized production lines that characterized galactic manufacturing, this facility appeared to be a constantly shifting maze of interconnected systems. This platform can transform any raw material into any needed technology in real time, Dr. In-Su explained. It was built entirely from components that the galaxy had discarded as obsolete or broken. Impossible, breathed Elder Kixara. The platform works by applying human adaptive principles to the manufacturing process itself, Dr. In-Su continued. Instead of building specific tools to make specific products, we built a system that can reconfigure itself to make anything. He demonstrated by feeding raw metal into one end of the platform. The machinery shifted and rearranged itself, and minutes later, a complex piece of electronic equipment emerged from the other end. The same platform that just produced a communication device can now produce a medical scanner, a weapon, a power generator, or anything else that might be needed. It adapts its configuration based on what is required. The implications were staggering. Humanity had not just improved individual pieces of technology, they had created technology that could improve itself and adapt to any need. General Krixnall, attending the session via secure transmission from his home system, asked the question that everyone was thinking. What prevents you from using this technology to dominate the galaxy? Taeho's answer was simple and direct. The same thing that has always prevented us from seeking domination. We prefer cooperation to conquest. But you could conquer us, Velthar observed. We could, Taeho agreed. Just as you could have used your advanced technology to conquer us when we first reach space. The question is not what we could do, but what we choose to do. Dr. Young Mi presented humanity's formal proposal to the Galactic Council, a comprehensive technology sharing agreement that would make human adaptive engineering principles available to any species that wanted to learn them. We are offering to teach our methods to anyone who is interested, she explained. The same principles that allowed us to improve your discarded technology can be applied to your current technology. At what cost? Asked Counselor Jektal suspiciously. Partnership, Tejo replied. We want to be treated as equals in galactic civilization. We want our colonies to be protected by the same laws that protect yours. We want our merchants to have the same rights as yours. And in return? In return, we share everything we have learned. We help you improve your technology. We work together to solve the problems that no single species can handle alone. The vote was not unanimous, but it was decisive. 3/4 of the Galactic Council approved humanity's proposal for comprehensive partnership. The species that voted against it were primarily those who had benefited most from the old galactic hierarchy. Elder Kix Ara's closing statement would be remembered as the moment when galactic civilization officially entered a new era. Today we acknowledge what has become undeniably clear. The species we gave our refuse to because we thought they were primitive has become the most technologically advanced civilization in known space. But more importantly, she continued, they have offered to share that advancement with us. The galaxy that once laughed at human primitiveness now has the opportunity to learn from human adaptability. As the session ended, Tejo reflected on how much had changed since his first visit to Nexus Prime. The aliens had given humanity their junk because they thought humans would be grateful for garbage. Instead, humanity had transformed that garbage into technology that surpassed anything the galaxy had ever seen. Captain He-Jin's final report from the exploration fleets captured the new reality perfectly. We now have human-designed ships operating in 47 star systems. Every ship carries technology that began as alien refuse and became something better than its original creators ever.